Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us as our Office of Small Business Programs celebrates Women's History Month. This morning, I want to discuss women working in IT, strengthening partnerships, being successful in the STEM field, and mentoring our youth. I'm honored to be the guest speaker for today's program. Before I get started, I would like to thank everyone in our Office of Small Business Programs for organizing this event. A lot of preparation takes place behind the scenes, and I'm thankful for your hard work. Since 1995, each president has issued annual proclamations designating the month of March as Women's History Month. The National Women's History Alliance selects and publishes the yearly theme for this observance. This year, they selected Visionary Women, Champions of Peace and Nonviolence. It speaks to those who have resolved conflicts peacefully and advocated for change in meaningful and lasting ways. In the field of IT, our conflicts are very different. Cybersecurity is trying to prevent harm in the cyber domain. I'll give you a few examples of how cyberspace affects each of us. Technology is incredibly useful, but it also comes with risks and vulnerabilities. Our computers, gadgets, and devices have the ability to be used as weapons against us on a virtual battlefield. Our personal identity, healthcare data, and the information you share on social media. Bits and pieces of data can be put together to show a complete picture and ultimately be used against us. The cyber domain is complex and can be fought from anywhere around the world. We see that every day. Particularly, we see that at DISA and at Joint Force Headquarters Doden, as we're under attack all of the time in the Department of Defense. That's why when I heard the theme for today's event, Unlocking Our Secrets, we did not wake up today to be mediocre. I felt it really resonated with the approach we have to take in cybersecurity. When I examine what our adversaries are trying to do to us and our nation in cyberspace, implementing a visionary approach is required for us to advance and maintain security. To help our nation maintain a competitive advantage in cyberspace, we have to encourage innovation, long-term strategic development, and inspire and motivate others to support our vision and ultimately advance the current situation. So the things that we're doing in cybersecurity are really important to our nation and our cybersecurity. We absolutely cannot be mediocre in cyberspace. We in DISA and Joint Force Headquarters Doden are partnering with our industry every day to increase and advance the cybersecurity capabilities that we have. We cannot be mediocre in defense of our nation. You cannot be mediocre in providing the kinds of capabilities that we need for our nation, in defense of our nation. This event today is an opportunity to identify the issues and concerns that relate to not just the services that we're providing, but to women in IT-based small businesses, and facilitate information sharing with our program managers and our contracting personnel. Every person in this room is a visionary leader. We all possess the skill sets, attitude, and experience to implement change and progress within our career field, our workplace, and our nation. Innovative thinking and identifying how those around us can support, relate, and contribute to our goals help make our vision a reality. With all visions, we have to be clearly communicated to energize and motivate the organization to take the idea from planning to execution. At DISA, our vision is to be the trusted provider to connect and protect the warfighter in cyberspace. Each day, our workforce knows that everything they do is to support and defend the warfighter. Their duty may differ, but everyone has the ability to see the direct impact of their efforts on the warfighter. A compelling vision is also helpful for identifying where your organization will be in 3 to 5 years and can attract the right partners to help you get there. As part of our vision, DISA is committed to working closely with our trusted industry partners to articulate what we need to protect our warfighters around the world, to solve their problems by implementing innovative solutions with speed and agility. We cannot achieve this without visionary thinking from both parties. We need small businesses like yours to help us reform our policies, our requirements, and our processes to ensure that we are implementing the right IT for the future. This approach is critical for us to maintain a competitive edge over our near-peer competitors. Because the industry changes so quickly, we can no longer work in silos. Federal agencies and small businesses have to establish effective working relationships, rooted in trust and transparency, to keep pace with technology and deny our adversaries. To demonstrate the need for partnership, in fiscal year 2018, DISA awarded more than $420 million in contracts to women-owned small businesses. The agency acknowledges the value and innovation that small businesses bring to the table, and we always are interested in hearing how you can help us accomplish our mission of supporting our warfighters. We will continue to identify ways for us to work collaboratively and strengthen our partnerships. That's what days like today are about. I encourage all of you to explore the new technical and innovative possibilities and see how your organization can help answer some of the pressing questions and concerns our nation has about the cyber domain and what we can do to support our national defense and our warfighters. When you apply visionary thinking to your business goals and objectives, be sure to apply it to your own career and professional development as well. Everyone should take the time to create a success plan. Identify what you want to achieve, share it with those who have invested interest in your own success, and do something each day to move towards your own goals. Everyone defines success differently, so it's important to establish your own standards and carve out your own path. Ask yourself, how can I make my own future successful? What does success look like and feel like for me? Who embodies my definition of success? Whom do I look to as a role model and learn more about their journey and career experiences? As you achieve your goals and continue down your career path, your definition of success may change. Mine certainly has over the years. New interests, developments in your career path and life changes priorities, such as becoming a mom or a dad can alter your priorities or those things that require our dedication, our passion, and our time. Modifying your success plan is not a bad thing. In fact, it is encouraged. Doing so will not only keep you on track, it will continue to inspire you and shows your commitment to personal growth. No matter where your career path takes you, always strive to do your best. Believe in yourself and have a positive attitude. Take advantage of continuous learning and educational opportunities. Continue to challenge yourself and do not be discouraged by hard times. Take good care of yourself. Make an effort to have a healthy life balance and know your own limits. The IT field is well known for its mission-driven work. I think you all know that, right? The days can be long and tiring and full of new information and recent developments. As a combat support agency, there is a deeply rooted feeling and belief here at DISA that our work supports the greater good of the American public, our senior leaders, our national defense, and our warfighters. That drives us to common goals. I think it drives all of you who support us as well. In order for our nation to maintain its superiority, we need the brightest minds to help us address challenges and provide innovative solutions quickly. These problem sets are not going away. They will increase and become even more complex over time. DISA is hiring, so if you or someone you know is interested in a job, please consider working here. And we need our workforce and our partners, particularly all of you with us today, to promote and encourage STEM careers with our youth. The number of women pursuing careers in fields heavily staffed by men, such as STEM fields, is growing, but still far too small. Currently, we have a high water mark. 4 of the top 5 defense contracting companies in the country are led by women. Did any of you know that? So we have Lockheed Martin, Boeing, what's my list? Can you help me out? Lockheed Martin, Boeing, General Defense, no, not IBM. Northrop Grumman, thank you. And what's the 5th? What? No. Not IT, the general defense contractors in general. I didn't bring the list. Oh, I did bring the list. No? Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, and Boeing are the 4. What's the 5th that isn't? Anyway, those are the 4, all led by women now, as of just the first of the year. So that's never happened before. It's amazing that 4 of the 5 are led by women. And that's typically led by men, of course. While women have achieved senior leadership roles within the industry, the number of female CEOs is still very small, and certainly is very small across the IT world. So a bunch of the companies that you're throwing out, very small number of female CEOs in the IT industry. We have to increase female representation in the STEM career fields. To do that successfully, men and women have to work together to create a workplace environment that are supportive, inclusive, and encourage professional growth. Each of us can evoke positive and lasting change in our workforce. Not only can we take steps to overcome these challenges, we can continue to have successful careers and open the doors for others to have the same. Be confident, straightforward, and take initiative. Your opinion matters, and you deserve an opportunity to contribute to the success of the mission. Have a standard of excellence, establish a framework for working together, meeting deadlines, and holding one another accountable. Develop a strong professional network. Maintaining meaningful relationships exposes you to new ideas and practices, establishes a high level of trust, and may be the door to your dream job and the window of opportunities you would have otherwise missed. And one that may have the greatest impact is leading by example. It is not enough to set the example. Your actions must be consistent, and it sets the right tone for those who are watching how a leader should behave. By establishing trust and credibility, you become a person others want to follow. Leading by example also involves lifting others up. Women's History Month is a time to honor, remember, and celebrate the remarkable legacies and accomplishments of women throughout history and those closest to us. It's also a reminder of what we can do to support, acknowledge, and uplift the women around us, especially our next generation of leaders. As visionary leaders in the STEM field, every one of you serve as role models by inspiring the young women around you to achieve and lead meaningful lives. Your behavior, values, and ethical principles help share the dreams and ambitions of our youth and encourage them to be the best versions of themselves. How many of you have daughters? Raise your hand. How many of you have nieces? All right, so don't ever underestimate the role model that you are to them, particularly the women in the audience. Don't ever underestimate what kind of role model you are. Now, oftentimes, particularly when they're teenagers, they will pretend like they don't want to have anything to do with you, right? They're like, you're just mom. You're just aunt, whatever. But secretly, and at some point when they get a little bit older, they start going, wow, I am so impressed by my mom. I am so impressed by my aunt. My deputy was telling me something the other day. She said, my daughter, she never has any interest in what I do. She's a teenager, never has any interest in what I do. But just recently, her daughter has become really, really interested in computer science. And of course, my deputy is in Joint Force Headquarters Doden is a computer science type. And she said, I just learned about all this cryptography, and she said, I've been studying all about this cryptographic machine, and she said, this stuff is really fascinating. And she said, Sophie, I go to NSA several times a week. And her daughter's eyes got about this big, and she said, really, Mom? She said, yeah. She said, I see the kind of equipment that you're talking about all the time. And she went, wow. She said, can you tell me about what you do? Sure. She said, I think my daughter suddenly thinks I'm cool. So don't ever forget that they're actually really watching you. And I was the same way when I was a teenager, a little girl. My mom was a police officer. And, my mom was a police officer in the early 70s. So if you remember when, in the early 70s was when Angie Dickinson was on TV, policewoman, remember that? And I was telling my friends, my mom is a cop, just like her, just like that woman on TV. And I didn't want to tell my mom that I thought it was cool, but I was really proud of my mom. And it wasn't until, I got to be an adult that I started telling my mom how proud I was of her. And all of those things that we see from the women around us make us realize that we can do anything that we set our minds to. So we've got to remember that and tell the young girls, young women in our lives that they can do anything that they want to do. So it's a reminder to us of what we can do to support and acknowledge and uplift the women around us. Like I said, we are the visionary leaders in the STEM fields, and you serve as that role model, and you need to continue to inspire those young women. Your behaviors, your values, your ethical principles help shape the dreams and ambitions of our youth and encourage them to be the best versions of themselves. But this is not our task alone. This has to be something that all of us do. The men, the women, the entire nation has to be working on this. Encourage those young women to speak confidently and to own their own success. Teach them how to highlight their achievements in a way that illustrates their hard work, their ability to recover and regain confidence even after making a mistake, and how to set a career path for attaining the next level of success. Help them understand the importance of goal setting and perseverance. Having them clearly defined goals will increase the likelihood of achieving them. It will foster accountability, eliminate unproductive behavior, and teach them to value their work. This will also help them have perseverance and tenacity and to avoid giving up when things get tough, and they always will, when things get uncomfortable and when they take longer than expected. Sticking to the plan or goal will develop their character and prepare them to take on obstacles as they come. Explain the importance of establishing a supportive network of individuals they can emulate and seek guidance when needed. By having this network at their disposal, they will be better prepared to handle difficult situations and can have a team to reach out to. That's part of the reason why we have events like this, is to help you all broaden your own network in businesses like we're doing today. I would like to leave you with one last thought. Be visible. We cannot be role models or visionary leaders or evoke change in the STEM field or our workplace if we are not visible. As our next generation grows up, we have to give them positive, familiar examples of who and what they can be. Seeing is being. If they can see it, they can be it. Let's all do our part to make sure they can see themselves and their peers as strong, creative, capable, and included. Thank you, and I would love to take questions if you have any.
What of all of the things that you've done and accomplished are you most proud of?
Well, without a doubt, the things that I am most proud of are the leaders that I've developed, that I have helped to groom and grow. Anytime that you can look behind you and say, somebody has really become something wonderful, not because of me, but because of something that I've helped them become, it's really wonderful. So last night I was able to send an email to one of the women that worked for me when I was a PACOM J6 to congratulate her on being selected for an 06 command. And she's a fantastic leader. A few years ago she was in an 05 command. She was an 04 when she worked for me when she was the PACOM J6. And then, shortly after that, she became an 05. She went into an incredibly hard 05 command. She was selected and moved early because the person had been fired from command in a really bad situation. And so she went into one of the worst command situations that you can imagine, where the 05 was, commander was fired, the senior enlisted was fired, just a really, really ugly situation. And I thought, okay, you want somebody to walk in ready for a successful command. And if there was ever anybody that was set up for potential failure, it was her. And she did a fantastic job of turning around that 05 command, and just did an amazing job. Got selected for 06, and now is going into an 06 command. And I know that I had a tiny little bit to do with that, but it just makes me so proud to see her continue to excel. And so those are the things that just make you, feel so happy that you were able to maybe give her a little bit of a boost. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Can you share with us your favorite thing about your job, and then also the most challenging thing about your job?
Well, the favorite thing about my job is just the workforce and the commitment that the people have to the mission, and that the mission is so important. So, like I said, the mission is all about supporting our warfighters. I forgot I've got a mic on, so I can. So our mission is so important as a combat support agency, and it's so critical for us to support our warfighters in every one of the missions that they have. And so it's a no-fail mission every day to support our warfighters, and the workforce has such a strong commitment to being able to do that. And every day I see our people pulling together as a team to make sure that happens. And in our field, the technology changes so rapidly and the requirements change so rapidly that it's a real challenge to keep up with that. And so it's a constant pace, and so it makes it really challenging to do that, but yet it's exciting at the same time. So that's why I really love it. It makes it constant, never dull. I don't know that anybody ever gets bored with the kinds of things that we are challenged with because of that.
So we're talking about women in STEM. Who are your top 3 role models in STEM?
Well, boy, that's a tough one. So my first one is easy. That's retired Rear Admiral Betsy Height. I don't know how many of you know her. A few people are nodding. So retired Admiral Betsy Height, she retired as the vice director from DISA, and so some of you know her from that role. I worked for her. I was her EA when she was a 1-star select on the OPNAV staff, and that was the first time that I'd gotten a chance to get to know her. And she is just an amazing leader, a wonderful person, and a technical expert at the same time. So, one of those people that is always smart about whatever it is that she knows about, but she's also amazing at building a team and always asking the right questions, getting everybody's input, something that I find is incredibly important, and one of the reasons why I value diversity so much, because it is so important to ask and get everybody's input. Not just having all the right people in the room, but actually hearing all the voices of everybody in the room. So she would be, one of those that would ask, okay, what is your opinion? What do you think of this? Not just, anybody have anything? Because oftentimes the people that speak the loudest are the only voices that get heard. And that oftentimes are the senior people in the room, the bullies in the room that dominate the conversation, the people that think they're the smartest but aren't necessarily the smartest. You all know what I'm talking about. And the ones that really are the smartest, maybe it's the really introverted engineer that just doesn't want to say anything. Maybe it's the junior person. Maybe it's the youngest person, and they're just afraid to say anything. Maybe it's the person that was shut down the last time, and so they don't want to say anything because they're afraid they're going to get shut down again. Maybe it's the woman that is the only woman in the room and feels like she can't say anything because she is the only woman in the room, right? And so she was great about making sure that those voices were always heard. And I learned so much from her of watching how she would do that. And so she's definitely a role model in so many ways, and always has been. So I would have to think about others before I would name other names. Yes, ma'am.
You talked a lot about networking and the value of building relationships. Are there any organizations that you currently belong to or organizations that you would recommend?
Well, definitely AFCEA. I've been affiliated with AFCEA since I was an ensign, which was a long time ago, 32 years ago. And that one has been, I think, really useful. Certainly for the military and that intersection between the military and industry. Lots of others that are similar to that, and different ones with the services and industry. But all of those that help to bring us together. And I talk a lot about trusted partnerships, and you'll hear that. That's our theme for it was our theme for our industry day, and we'll be talking more about that for the next AFCEA conference as well, because our partnership with industry is so important, and those activities that we do that help us build those relationships better in a open and non-threatening way are so useful. And building relationships between us in government, military, and industry in a non-competitive way, and helping to understand what your goals and drivers are, and helping us to understand that only good can come of that. And we often find, and I hear this a lot from my retired friends, once they leave the military and go out into industry, they say, boy, I wish I'd known a lot more about what motivates industry, what their drivers are when I was on active duty. I could have been so much better in terms of being a customer or being a program manager if I'd understood what the drivers were. And we don't talk enough, we don't share enough. And so, helping to build those relationships in a way that we feel comfortable with having those conversations, including hard conversations sometimes about, hey, I'm really not happy with your performance. I'm really not happy with your cost model. We have to do things differently. I have those conversations fairly frequently, because when I as DISA, I'm talking about very large scale. Pretty much everything that we do is at very large scale for DISA when we're talking about things that are across the DISN or supporting large portions of the DoD. It's at large scale. So a cost model that you as a small business or a large business, large industry is doing for a commercial sector for an individual product works well for different sectors, doesn't scale well for a government model, for a DoD-wide model. And so I have those conversations of, you just have to change your business model. And sometimes that can be an uncomfortable conversation. Well, it's much less uncomfortable if we have a relationship. And if you understand that, hey, this is a trusted partnership. This is just a conversation we have to have. And it's not an adversarial relationship. You don't want to start off thinking that it's an adversarial relationship. And that's the kind of discussion and partnership that we have to build.
I've been watching you for a few years since you've been in command. Very, very impressive background. Your success throughout your career, the military career, and today you are a woman leader of the largest technology agency in the Department of Defense. So, like you, I aspire to be in charge and leading in a successful agency of this size. So, what are the top 2 to 3 along that path? Things that we're talking about unlocking our secrets that is the drivers or the keys to your success of getting from there. Well, I'm probably more of when you were probably a program manager, but to here.
Mm-hmm. Well, first, work hard. That's pretty easy. Don't give up. You know, that's easy, and I know that none of you, you've already figured that part out. But one of the things that, in fact, I have this on my coin. So on my coin, I have a Hawaiian saying, "Kulia I Kunu'u," which in Hawaiian is "strive for the summit." And I read that first on the logo for Iolani Palace, and when I was a lieutenant. And I like to hike, and so I always thought, oh, I like that because I like that in thinking about hiking. But it's really about what life is all about. It's about choosing what is the summit that I want to reach, and then how do I get there, and thinking about what's the path that I'm going to use to try to get there, and continuing to strive for that. And then when you get there, what's the next summit? And so part of that is not stopping when you get to that first summit and continuing to strive, because it's not necessarily about reaching the summit. It's about striving and recognizing that what you're doing is about how do I make myself better. That's that continuous improvement, that continuous learning, that continuous development, that building out your network, looking for the people that can help you understand what your blind spots are, understanding what am I doing wrong, what am I doing right, what do I need to develop, what are the skill sets that I'm missing, how do I continue to round out my capabilities and my talents in a way that will help me move on to the next level, to that next summit, and then thinking about what do I want to do? Do I want to take this path or that path? And what are the choices that I want to make in my life? Do I want to, what are the compromises that I want to make based on my personal goals and my professional goals? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am. Thank you for making time out of your schedule to address us this morning.
You're welcome.
And impart your wisdom. My question to you is, what role do you envision DISA playing with the upcoming Space Force or Space Command? Are there any influences that the agency will have in that command?
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of unknowns still about kind of how that's all going to work out. But no matter how it works out, DISA will still be very much a supporter of space. We always have been. We always will be. Whether that's very directly, right now we still play a big role in MilSatCom. Many of you probably know that commercial SATCOM was just recently moved to the Air Force and that Air Force Space Command, and that will likely move to Space Command, under Space Command as it continues to move. But we are continuing to do the contracting in support of Air Force Space Command for ComSatCom. So we will clearly play a role, though, regardless, in terms of the teleports and the gateways and the connection to the DISN and back into the terrestrial infrastructure. So, there's no, in cyberspace, there's no clear cut between where does cyberspace stop and space start. And General Hyten and I have had this conversation, and General Raymond and I have had this conversation, a few times. General Hyten and I have had it several times about, where's that distinction? It's not clean, and so we just have to continue to work together. We will always be partners, and no matter where, how fluid that line is, and it may change over time. What we do know about this domain in the information environment is it continues to change. You think about how StratCom, SpaceCom, StratCom, CyberCom, space, think about how all of that has evolved over the last 15, 20 years. It continues to change up and down, up and down, up and down, and DISA has been a part of it in every role, just as it's changed over time and will continue.